All right. Welcome back to the Forest Brothers podcast. It's your boy Mutsa Chris Don back in the cut, joined by my two brothers, Nkosi and Samson. What's goody, brothers? All right. So, listener, in this particular episode, we'll be talking about Chelsea Football Club. In case you may not know, they lost. Oh, they won actually. They won 2-1 against Fulham on Sunday. Sorry, I almost said they lost because they were supposed to. Anyways, they did scrape a win. Nkosi is gonna get into this, but he did say it was a fake win when we're talking in the group chat. So I'll be very curious to hear his thoughts and opinions on that game. So actually, now over to you, Mangoro. Let's talk about Chelsea today and all things Chelsea and their form lately. What has happened to Cole Palmer? Is he a one season wonder? And then, talk about Maresca. Because there's a lot we haven't actually, we need to give Chelsea some attention. There's a lot to talk about. So anyway, over to you and your impressions of your game against Fulham this past weekend.
Thank you for the platform, Mr. Mutsa. What's up, wonderful listener? We're back for our Brothers podcast. Uh, Before I even get into the game, I just do want to start with a bold statement, and I think it's going to reign true, like supreme at the end of the season. I'm a firm believer that, as a Chelsea supporter that I've supported for my entire life, I think as much as we support football teams, we need to be honest, and I think Chelsea fans and Chelsea people also need to be honest with themselves. Chelsea are not going to make the top five. Like, that's just a fact. Like, as I've been saying, and I remember when we made our predictions and I put City and Newcastle there with Forest. I don't think Chelsea will make it. Um, Now when I come to the game, when as someone who's watched these games for since the turn of the year, this has been a trend that's been coming for quite a while, and the form has gone out the window. Yesterday, as I was watching that game and I was trying to take it all in, thinking about this Chelsea does really deserve to be in the top five, as they call it now. The honest truth is, we do not. Like yesterday, Fulham, they got tired. Half of their players, like in the second half, Chelsea was playing alone. And it's a very sad sight, honestly. Like just watching this Chelsea team, I think the owners they've killed this club. Like I was listening to David Ornstein earlier today talk about how maybe the transfer policy is going to change. Interestingly enough, they did inquire about Van Dijk, which I found to be very bizarre. It's like, why would you inquire about Van Dijk, who's 32? Like, are you now realizing that you need leaders in the team? But when I look at the game yesterday, we did score two goals in the last 10 minutes. Um, Interesting stats. Nicholas Jackson was on the field for 80 minutes. He did nothing. I don't know. I don't remember him taking a shot at goal. I remember him passing a lot, very badly as well. But Tariq George, a young kid from the academy, who is a winger, not even a striker, came on, played center forward, scored on his first touch. On his first touch. I'm just saying. But and then when we look at the other goal, like Fulham were they were so tired at that point. It was like the 93rd minute, and Enzo was running on around the line, and then he crossed it to Pedro Neto, who, by the way, has also been quite off lately. And he banged it in, and like you could see, like how they celebrated it so much, and like the last 10 minutes they came on and they started playing like they'd been playing in the first half of the season. But the honest truth is that we can't overlook what happened from minute one to minute 80. Like that was just not good. And the problems at Chelsea, I think, are very big. We need to take a closer look at them. We just played match week 33, and the team still doesn't have a front of shirt sponsor. There's no front of shirt sponsor. The sleeve sponsor, Live Nation, actually came halfway through the season. The first half of the season was someone else. I don't even remember them. Like, I don't even know if they actually exist. Last year, there was an issue with Infinite Athlete and the supposed valuation of what they put on the club in terms of like what the amount they're paying. I think it was around 40 to 60 million, but then apparently they didn't even have that on the books. That was quite interestingly enough. But honestly, I think.
Mangoro, quick question.
Mhm.
Why are front of shirt sponsors even that important? Like, are we this whole marketing and football thing has been taken too far. Why can't we just have a blue shirt on and we know it's Chelsea, we move on with our day?
So to give you context, front of shirt sponsors are important because they give you revenue to be able to sign players. Because now what you're doing is from because think about PSR. PSR is money you make from the club, like what's there, from shirt sales, sponsorships, uh, player sales. Champions League is a big one. When you look at your revenue mix of what you bring in, it allows you to go spend. So now you're essentially going into the next transfer window. You've gone into the last two transfer windows without 40 to 60 million to spend extra, which in actual fact could go a long way because that 60 million, when you look at the context of it, it's not like you're signing one player. You could sign, if you sign a front of shirt sponsor, a 5 year deal, let's just say with Arsenal for 60 million, for 6 years, and it's 10 million a year. Yes, 10 million, 10, I mean, sorry, it's 60 million each season front of shirt Fry Emirates. This is just a hypothetical. You can actually sign six players for however much you want because what you book on the balance sheet is only maybe, say, for example, 5 to 10 million per player. It's not like that 60 million is going to sign one player. You spread out the cost over the length of that player's contract. So now that's why it's important to actually have, I'd say, that front of any type of sponsorship, like front of shirt, even sleeve sponsorship, because the amount they pay will be able to cover the player cost when you go sign a player to improve your team. That's why everyone's pushing to be in Champions League. But Aston Villa don't push to be in Champions League because they think they can win it. They push to be in Champions League because there's money there. As you get to quarterfinal, semi-final, there is money there to be made. The TV rights money from Champions League is very important. That's why, like, when we were negotiating with Qatar Airways and I think another Riyadh Air, like, their biggest thing was us being in the Champions League. That's what was going to give them the leverage for them to actually be like, okay, we'll sign this contract with this team for however many years, because most of the time you're not signing a 1 or 2 year deal. It's a long-term commitment where the branding, it's now seen in the Champions League, it's seen in the Premier League. So it's very important. And for us, we don't have that. Why do you think now we're selling women's teams to ourselves for 500 million? Like, think about those things.
Hey, all these players just end up looking like NASCAR drivers. I'm surprised that some teams don't have two short of sponsors. Like you have one here, you have one there. So okay, no, that's a good description, I suppose. I was always curious why. I don't even know when it started. Maybe I'll do some research on it at some point. Like when did it's like the shirt and the sponsor, like when did that start? I'll be curious. So I'm gonna research that. Maybe I'll just do a quick Google search and see. But carry on, Samson Omongoro, whilst I do the slight research.
Okay. Uh, but yeah, I think the other thing is, I think it's high time we also have a conversation about some of the players. I think some of the players that are playing at Chelsea just won't cut it. Like, I think we need to have, as much as I wouldn't want to say this out loud, but I'll say it anyway. I think Noni Madueke is not good enough to play for Chelsea. He's number one. I don't think he'll take us anywhere. We're not winning anything with him. Nicola, okay, Jackson will be he's an okay squad player. That's the honest truth. And thirdly, there needs to be a serious conversation had about Enzo Fernandez. I think the money we've spent there it's a lot, but we need to take a closer look. And we also need to address the situation with Mikhailo Mudryk. What is happening there? Like, it's been over close to a year now. No one said anything. No one's saying anything. What's the situation there? It's a player that the club has spent a lot of money on, but we're not seeing anything, which is why I think most of the fans are so confused by the club. That's why they're so upset. So, all in all, I think we need to take a closer look at a few things. When I look at the squad right now, for us to be, I don't think next season we can challenge for the top. We can challenge for the league. It's impossible. I'll tell it out. I tell it how it is. I think the high likelihood is probably maybe be in the top five next year, but we need five new players. And when I say five, I mean a world class striker is number one. we need another winger. I don't think Jadon Sancho will cut it at Chelsea. I think we should pay the 5 million and send him back to United. Uh, we need another CDM because I love Romeo Lavia, but he's just never fit. So I don't think I've been hearing that Andre. Okay, I'm okay. Andre Santos I've been following him at Strasbourg. He's been doing well. If he comes in to fill in the void there, great. I think we need another center back, because Wesley as well. He's injured again, and it's been like 2 years now. So I think we need another center back. And lastly, definitely goalkeeper. Petrovic has been killing it at Strasbourg as well this season. They're sitting, I think, fourth or fifth. They could potentially even play Champions League in France. So I think we need to take a closer look there because Sanchez is an actual criminal. Like the stuff that he does there between the sticks is truly unacceptable. So we truly need to take a closer look at that. If we fix the spine and the players that we have, the core that we have, continues to improve, then maybe we can make it to top five or whatever it'll be next season. Because right now, honestly, like fine, we won yesterday, but we were lying to ourselves. And as I mentioned, it was truly a false win.
Okay, so I have the timeline here of this shirt sponsorship thing, just for anyone who is also kind of wondering about this. So it became widespread in the early 1990s, they're saying, but the very first team, it happened in the 1970s. It was Kettering Town, which was not even the Premier League at that point. It was a lower league club, and they were the first one to experiment with the front of shirt sponsorship, but the FA banned it like right after that. And then 1978, Coventry City was the first Premier League club to have a shirt sponsor. They had a deal with Talbot. That was in 1978. And then the early 1980s, shirt sponsorship was still facing some resistance, with some clubs refusing to play without sponsors and some teams being fined for wearing sponsored shirts. So it seems like the 80s, there was that resistance. And then the late 80s, early 90s, sponsorship became more common. And by the start of the Premier League in 1992, most clubs had front of shirt sponsorships. And then right now they're saying that the Premier League just announced that the front of shirt gambling sponsors will be banned, with the ban set to take effect at the end of the 2025-2026 season. So I guess they'll do one more season, but then no more Betway, Stake. I think there are other
Hollywood,
betting companies.
Hollywood bets Brentford.
Hollywood bets, yeah. So they have one more season and then they're banned. Which is
Seems
which is
like a
interesting.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because remember when they tried to say that Ivan Toney has a gambling problem, but on his chest every week is a is a gambling company.
Yeah, even Paqueta, right? Well, like it's like,
Yeah,
they say this player's gambling. Who was that? Who
right
was that?
there.
Was it
Exactly.
Tonali? Who was that?
Tonali. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was Tonali, and yeah, Paqueta. But yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting. But yeah, that's the timeline of the thing here. But let me ask you, Samson. They've compared Maresca and Arteta together, in many conversations because they're both students of Pep. Well, what has your assessment been of Maresca ball at Chelsea? Given what you see from their form and how his first season is going.
So I'll start by saying that a lot of the things Chelsea fans are feeling right now, Leicester City fans felt when he was in the Championship, where the first half of the season it was not as good as the second half of the season. Um, and I can see that because of his style of play or what he wants from his players. And I get it. We spoke about this before. Managers have ideas. They want to do things a certain way. Like, remember he had that press conference a few weeks ago where it was like, if my keeper goes long when I've told him to go short, I won't play him, so he knows he has to keep trying playing out from the back. So, obviously he's dogmatic in some ways. He has certain things he's not going to negotiate on. I think that could be a good thing or a bad thing, and that being said, I will say that what is happening at Chelsea right now, I don't think you can necessarily pin on Maresca. I think a few things you can, like his love affair with Robert Sanchez, that is on him. Nobody told him to start Robert Sanchez in the beginning of the season. Nobody told him to let is it Petrovic? Go on loan.
Petrovic. Yeah.
Petrovic, go on loan. Nobody told him these things. He decided to do them. Nobody told him to give the armband to Enzo Fernandez. No one said anything. If you, because remember, he started the season not captain. He was given when he came back. At the worst possible time, in my opinion, because he just had like that whole racial
Racist.
debacle that involved another one of their players for fun. Give him the armband. So he's done a few things that, yes, have impacted the team, in my opinion. But again, at the time, we didn't really see those impacts because they were winning. Now they're not winning, and you're feeling the impact of those decisions. But really, like Mongoro said, the people who are really to blame are the ownership, because this team, like we said from the very beginning when it was being built, is that, what's the experience? Where are the leaders? And I found it very funny they spoke about Van Dijk, because you'll remember these were the same people that wanted to buy a 36-year-old Ronaldo, or was it 37-year-old Ronaldo? Um, and you can tell it's not really about what qualities the players is bringing. It's about the name. They want to sign the name. They want to sell shirts. And it just clearly the ownership group here um, isn't fully invested in the football side at Chelsea. They're clearly doing all they can to squeeze as much money possible out of this club and set it up to be, the best financial asset it can be. And I understand that, these guys are investment bankers, venture capitalists, like this is what they do. But at the same time, you've hired a coach with a very specific play style. He needs very specific players. You've not delivered those players. He's having to play, Noni Madueke, and if Noni Madueke isn't working out, he has to play Pedro Neto. Like, if those guys don't work out, it's Jadon Sancho. I mean, guys, you could have signed other ones. Jadon Sancho was not all you could have signed. Joao Felix, you paid Atletico so much money. I mean, it was what, 20 million you paid for him?
It was complicated in the sense that it was money plus Gallagher, so there wasn't like a true valuation there.
Even worse. Even worse, because that was pure profit out the door that you spent on a guy who's playing elsewhere. So it's like, I don't think they are fully equipping this manager, with the best team possible in order to compete. At the same time, they've invested heavily in youth, and players like Andre Santos, when they come in, Cuenda, will be very important. And I get that, the youth movement, it's going to work out. But you never want to be that club that are always thinking about next year and 2 years from now and 3 years from now. Because, like we've seen in football, things change so quickly. I mean, Mikhailo Mudryk is a great example. You guys spent 95 million or whatever it was. He's facing a doping ban right now. He's not playing football because he's banned, and he could be banned for as much as 4 years.
What about that guy?
Right. Like, that's a
Mikhailo.
serious thing. Like, so it's like when they go into this summer, you can, and we've already heard of some of the deals they've made. My question is, Mongora said, they need a DM, they need a goalkeeper, they possibly need another central defender, need a striker, need another winger. Are they going to sign these players, or are they going to keep looking for who's the next best wonder kid? Who's the highest profile name in the market? That's my question, because I don't think what's happening here you can completely pin on Maresca, because again, you knew what you were signing up for with Maresca. You knew the playing style. You knew what his demands were going to be. he can only give you so much. I think he's done well, like if he finishes sixth, fifth, I think that's a great season because given the competition around him and how inconsistent Chelsea have been, I mean, you only have to look at Chelsea's form between December and now. That is not even a top half team. That is a bottom half team based on that form. So given the fact that he was able to, you know, put himself in a position where he could be in a title race by December with that team, clearly he's the right man for the job. But now, are you going to support him and give him the extra ammunition he needs to take this team to the next level? Because, I mean, we love Cole Palmer. I love Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer's a good player. But is Cole Palmer KDB reborn? Can he carry your team for 38 games a season? We're seeing he can't. There's a limit to his powers. He can do it for 10 games. He can carry you. He can be that star player. But he also needs Nico Jackson to find the net. He needs Noni Madueke to focus less on Instagram models and more on the pitch. He needs Pedro to score more goals and dribble more and be more effective, in the final third. He needs play. He needs a team around him, like all star players do. So, is he going to get that? That's
Can
the
I
question.
can I quickly add on some of the things Samson was talking about there? Yeah, there truly is a problem. Quick stats. It was actually very alarming when I saw it on the form. Now it's April 20th. That was Chelsea 2025. That was Chelsea's first away win of 2025. First away win, number one. If we hadn't accumulated those points in the first half of the season, we were done for. We were done for. Like right now, this form, and it's been too many games where we've dropped points. Like we could be comfortably, and I always mention this, in third place, but we've dropped so many points, so many. Like okay, fine, the losses I don't mind. My biggest thing is all those draws. Like those draws have really killed us. Without those draws, we'd be comfortably in third. And then when I look at the player recruitment, like the signing of these 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 10-year-olds at this point, I think needs to be relooked at. Because I think I'm envisioning a situation very similar to 2011-12 when we had Salah, KDB, Lukaku, Oscar, Hazard, Willian, Mata on the books. I'm envisioning a situation like that where we stockpile talent because right now on the right wing, we have Noni and Neto, who are what, 25, 25, 26, and 24, 20, 23, 24. And then this summer, you have Estaval, who's what, 18, 19, coming in to compete for that position. And then 2026, you have Quenda, who's 17, coming in to compete for that position. 4 into 1 doesn't go. Those 4 players can't play all of them there. Like, can't play them. That's number one. Number two is I feel like we're so focused on signing players for Strasbourg rather than signing players for the first team of Chelsea. Because with Andre Santos coming back, Amagu, who was signed in January from Saint Etienne, is going to go replace him, I think. Caleb Wiley, who was signed last year, went to Strasbourg. Like, we're signing more for Strasbourg rather than the biggest entity you have in this group of teams like that you own. And that's truly alarming. Like, when I look at it, I'm like, what are we doing here? The sporting directors, and I can safely say both of them, they've got some transfers right. They've got some horrendously wrong. And that's truly on them. Because when you look at some of the players on the books, out on loan, as something was mentioning, okay, not Jaden Sancho. When you look at Felix, you look at Disasi, you look at even the ones that are still on the books today, Sterling and the likes. Those people are not supposed to be at the club anymore. It's what happens when you have two sporting directors trying to sign all these players and there isn't like a set direction where they say we agree on this and that's what we're going to do. Because like we saw it last year in his first season. that Nicholas Jackson won't cut it as a first team striker. He needs to be the rotation. But then the whole season, for two seasons straight, he hasn't taken you to where you want it to be. You signed him as a left winger after 30 games in his professional career. 30 after like half a season, you signed him. You're like, this is a guy, we're gonna make him a center forward. And it shows you like that why he was where he was where they at Villarreal, because that's just not good enough. And one last thing I want to close out with on Chelsea, which is very alarming as well, not a lot of people pay attention to. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but under this current ownership, Chelsea have not been in the Champions League. Under this current ownership, that season they can't claim the first season because that was from the old regime. They just inherited the fact that we were in the top four. They can't say they made top four. Ever since they've taken over, we haven't been in the top four. And this season, it's going to continue. Like, honestly, this is going to continue. And the situation where if the manager, not even a manager, it's a coach, you hire a coach. So basically you say, this is the material to the architect or to the builder. You're like, okay, build this thing we want to see using this material that really doesn't work. And then when he says to you, no, I want this kind of material, we need this, and this to fulfill what you want. And then you tell him, no, we're going to add this kind of material, which is not ready, which is those young players that are busy signing. And you're like, what is a 17-year-old moving from Brazil coming to the Premier League going to do? Why are you signing him? Aaron Ansomino, he was signed. Where is he today? Came from South America. David Washington came from Brazil, 19-year-old striker. We don't even know where he is today. Now, like literally, I think our under 21s and under 18s have players that cost more than some Premier League teams at this rate. Datro Fofana, where is he? So these two sporting directors, I think we need to be honest, one of them has to go. Or if not both, and we start afresh with one sporting director and one owner. But then the problem is we also do have co-owners. So that's why the club is like, if there's two owners, I'm very surprised we don't have two coaches. Well, technically we do, because I think we do have two coaches. I think it's Maresca and this guy called Ben Roberts from Brighton that came with Graham Potter. He's the goalkeeper coach. Apparently has a lot of influence into why Sanchez plays every week. So, yeah, from the top down, we have two owners, two sporting directors, two coaches. I'm pretty sure even there we have like two bus drivers for the same bus. Two bus drivers.
Two chefs.
Yeah, everything happens in pairs. Like, everything happens in pairs. So it's just a calamity. Like, my personal opinion is that those guys, as much as they had some other vision, they've killed the club. The club, if they don't save it this summer, the club is finished.
Hey, that's crazy. Yeah, sounds like y'all have a lot of problems there. But I do want to turn to before we get to Cole Palmer, because I do believe that Cole Palmer does deserve a conversation. I want to talk about Reece James, because Reece played for 45 minutes and was hooked off, I believe, at halftime, from what I can see here. So, and then he was the leader of the team. I know when Reece is on the pitch, he's the captain of the club, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Magoro. But I know that Reece James has a pretty higher place there in Chelsea. But he's just not fit enough to, play a season. He's only now coming back towards the end, and even now that he's back, it's not even like anything, So anyway, do you believe that this should be the last season for Reece James? Next season, sell him, take him, he should leave, or do you believe that there's still a future for the guy at the club?
He has a future. There's three particular players that I point this out to. Reece is one of them. Lavia is the other one, and Fofana. I think what we need to accept is that these guys are like, the next couple of years in their careers, they're going to be playing 10, 15, 20 games max. And they need to be rotation players at this point, because One, no one is going to take them for the money that those Chelsea owners want. They hadn't been playing Christopher Nkunku for 6 months, and they wanted to sell him to Bayern for 70 million and make a profit. And Bayern was like, I'm really going to take this guy. So I think, like, and people like Reece, Lavia, and Fofana, you're not recouping the money you got for them. Well, James was free, but like, and he's also the club captain. So I don't think they'll sell him. I think they need to provide like competent deputies in those positions so that the burden is not on them to be playing Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, and they rotate in and out of the team. And that's just something that they have to get used to until their body gets to a point where it's solid enough. Like if next season we have three right backs, Reese, Josh Chimpong, and Malo Gusto, I'm fine with that. And then you rotate them throughout because form, injuries, and stuff like that. You're not providing the. I think those players are players that we're not supposed to be putting a burden on them to come back immediately and play because they'll break down. Like Romeo Lavia, we forced him back to come back, and then he broke down. Same thing with Wesley Fofana. He broke down. So like we need to they need to be part of the rotation, but the burden shouldn't be on them to be playing week in and week out because their bodies just can't do it.
Doesn't that ruin team chemistry though? If there's like always a different player there, week in, week out. Like this week it's James, 3 days later it's Fofana, 3 days later it's Gusto. I don't know. Doesn't that kind of make it? I don't. That can be good for, especially for a back four, back five like system. That doesn't sound like it's conducive for success.
It's not, but it's the situation you all have. These are the assets you have. Like no one's gonna take them off your hands. So this is the best of. You need to make the best out of this bad situation, and that's what I say. That's the only way. Because what do you do if you don't do this, and then next season you rely on them? They'll give you 3 games and then they'll break down because their body is not used to being that way. Because think about it. It's been. I don't understand if it's been like one season. If it's been like 3 seasons now, where like half of the season you're like that guy Romeo Lavia, I don't think he's played more than 10 games consecutively ever since he joined Chelsea. Same thing with Wesley. Well, Wesley, I think maybe he did at the start of the season, but he's been out. So honestly, they just need to be part of the rotation because if they're not part of the rotation, we're gonna have a problem. And as you see right now, we have to be recalling people like Trevor Chalobah. So
To be honest, I would feel like it's a much better way to just get rid of this dead weight and have a kid 20 who plays somewhere, maybe even in Italy or in Spain. I'm sure there are many good young right backs who are actually solid enough, who put in good performances. Sell James somewhere for 10 mil. Sell, Wesley Lafia, when they're fit. I don't know what you can do with them, but I'm sure Chelsea could get somebody who's not expensive from one of these other countries who can just be like, okay, we know you are strong enough. Maybe if they're in Italy or Germany, those guys are usually pretty like sturdy. Just train that guy and let James train him or work with James a lot, and then that can be your future. Why not do something like that?
I'll quickly add we have bigger problems than James Lavia and thing. We have people out on loan that like close to like 9, 10 players that are eating into the wage bill that's where we need to start. Sterling, Felix, Nkunku, Ben Chilwell, and all the guys at Strasbourg as well. Like that's where we need to start. We have 9 Kepa, we have 9 goalkeepers. We have 9 goalkeepers for the first team. And we still don't have a number one. We have 9, but we still don't have a safe pair of hands. So we have bigger problems. Like we'll sort out more Reese and more thing later on. But let's first start with these guys out on loan. Like it's just so much.
And the other thing I want to point out here is just moving those 3 guys, and it's kind of the story of Chelsea about all the players really. I mean, except for the younger ones, I think sadly, they're on slightly less money. But Reece James, Fofana, Lavia, nearly impossible to move those guys. Um, Lavia, I'm not sure how much he's on. I know it's probably those, probably not as much as the other two, but Fofana, I know for sure when he was signed, he signed on for a lot. Reece James, he's on a lot of money. You're not going to convince anyone to pay someone that amount of money when this is their injury history. Lavia, I think you might be able to get away with it, but again, you spent like what, 50, 60 million?
55.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to take a pay cut. You know, if you offer Lavia to someone, say 25, 35, maybe they bite, but again, you have to take a serious pay cut. So I don't think they're going anywhere. But what I will say, my takeaway from this, and I was watching that first goal that Reece James, you know, people will say it was a foul. I feel like if you want to foul there, you have to make a show. You have to give people a performance, Oscar-worthy performance, because you're the big club, you're robbed on the ball. They're not, the refs already kind of hate you. They're not gonna give you that. But my takeaway is that Reece James, I don't think he's a Premier League player anymore. And I don't say that in terms of his talent because I think he's still an incredible talent. When I was look at what guys can do on set pieces and their technique on the ball, I think incredible player in that way. But the guy just doesn't have legs. And the way the Premier League is going these days, most teams, and I mean most teams in the league, even Ipswich and your Leicesters, they have athletes like all the way down. There's athletes. And if this is your right back, that's your center back, that's your like your CDM, and they're even when they're fit, it seems like they're playing at 75%. I think that's just a problem, like you can afford to carry one or two, maybe, if they're really, really, really talented. Like we've seen Arsenal the last few weeks with Bukayo Saka. Like Saka is easily one of the best players in the league. If Saka's at 40%, he's still a problem for most defenders in the league just because he's Saka. Reece James has not been at his level that he was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. If he was there, he could get away with it, but he's not. He's not whipping crosses in and just getting assists at a crazy amount. Lavia, when he's on the pitch, he's dominated with next to Caicedo, but again, it's not enough because after 5 games, he's out. Fofana is part of a very leaky defense. You guys need a dominant center back next to him who can at least, you know, make it so that it's not as hard on him physically, running up and down the pitch. So I feel like it's just there's too much inconsistency in the team as is for you guys to be able to accommodate these injury-prone players to the level that you would need to support them for them to return to their best. So with Reece James, I would just cut my losses, man. Like, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like at this point, is it Josh Acheampong? I think he's a better right back than Reece James. I think you can rely on him more than you can rely on Reece James. Same with Gusto, because even though they may not have the skills Reece James has, they can run up and down for 90 minutes, and that's what you need from a fullback. So unless Reece James wants to play DM and change how he plays and learn a new position, I don't see how this works out long term with him.
Can I just paint a quick picture here? And I hear the Reece James argument, but I feel like that's a secondary problem. There is a far bigger problem. I'm just going to list out all the players we have on loan that need to be addressed this summer, and honestly, I don't think they should be loans for some of these guys. Exo Disasi at Villa, Andre Santos at Strasbourg, Joao Felix at AC, Leslie Ogochukwu at Southampton, Georgia Petrovic at Strasbourg, Renato Vega, who came last summer at Juventus, Ben Chilwell at Palace, Connie Chukwuemeka at Dortmund, Raheem Sterling down the road at Arsenal, Armando Broja at Everton, Kepa at
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, Mike Penders at Genk, David Washington back at Santos, Caleb Wiley, he's now at Watford. He was at Strasbourg before. Alfie Gilchrist at Sheffield United, and Bashir Humphreys at Burnley. So you can see that there's that problem first before we even get to start discussing the other team. And I haven't even mentioned these other 5-year-olds who've signed that are coming in 26 and 27 that are already signed in the two guys from Sporting, Quenda
And,
and the center back. I forget the center back's name.
yeah,
So and that center back was signing also is coming in and is gonna go to Strasbourg. So yeah, we have major problems. That's what I'll say.
But anyway, at the end of the day, that old Reese is in pieces. That's the end of the.
it is Dario Isugu is the other guy. From Sporting.
Darius Sugo. I know that old Reese. Anyway, let's move to Cole Palmer before we end the podcast here, because again, at the end of the day, like we did say, Cole Palmer. I think we talked about this in a few episodes ago, but like Cole Palmer had a good first half of the season. He scored 4 goals in a game. Broke the record there. But the Cole Palmer we saw back then is all the Cole Palmer we're seeing now. And was he even hooked in this game? Let me see. They might have played the whole game. Yeah, he played the whole game. Anyway, but it's not the same guy, especially after his injury. What's going on? Is it low confidence, Mangoro? Is it like he's just not being is it just protecting himself? Is it just because he's lost faith given what is in front of him? Jackson, Neto. Is he a one season wonder, as people are saying about him? Because at this rate he is. If he doesn't pick himself up next season, hey, it ain't looking good. Pep might be feeling very absolved right now. Like, you see why I sold this kid? You see why I sold this kid? So I don't know. I'm curious, like what's going on with the boy Palmer.
I'll start off by saying he's not a one-season wonder. He's done it for 2 seasons. Even if we go back and look at his stats now, even though he hasn't done much the second half of the season, his first half of the season stats pretty much cover like a good season. When you look at the end of the season, his GNA is pretty decent. Like, it's not as good as he did last season, but I think mainly it's a couple of things. One, teams have sort of planned around him, sort of figured him out. And what he was doing last season, now teams are aware of it. Like, because he wants to play with Jackson. If he's on the ball and you cut out the passing lane to Jackson, there's not much you can do there. He'll give it to Noni. And like that pretty much drains his confidence. I'd say that's one aspect. The other aspect is he's a young player who essentially like is suffering because he's lived off the idea. He's not aware of like, oh, actually, I need to reinvent my game. I need to do something different because these teams are now planning for me. So he needs to always like be thinking of new ways to improve, thinking of other ways to play. So that's the other aspect. The other aspect is that, as I mentioned, he is a young player. Like, these are things you will expect from a 22-year-old or 21-year-old. Like, he's not going to be putting up Salah numbers at 22. Like, you have to be like crazy, like good. Like, you have to be like Messi and Ronaldo, and he's not that. So, in all honesty, like, I think probably when I look at his season for the rest of the season, it's just my take. I think maybe he'll score 1 goal and get an assist here somewhere, but like, I don't think he's gonna pick up his form all of a sudden and he's gonna be back to the Cole Palmer we know. Like, I've seen him every week now for I don't know how many weeks now. I think this is gonna be him for the rest of the season, and then I think he just needs a preseason to recharge, come with a new wave for next season, and then push again because the season. It's pretty much done.
What I just find funny, and maybe Samson will respond to this. What I just find funny is that you guys have been shitting on the boy Philip Foden, but when it comes to Palmer, Axa, don't worry, Axa. Next season he'll be back. Don't worry about him, Axa. It's JNA. We've seen him. He's good. But Foden, all hell goes loose. Foden is whack. He's overrated. We've all seen what Foden can do. We've all seen Foden win trophies. It's just funny. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing it out that it's hilarious that you guys ride for Palmer, but you want to bring down Foden.
I will say this before Samson jumps on. Foden was the reigning PFA Player of the Year last season. And for him to come back this season and do this, I have no words.
It happens. Come on.
Now it happens. Okay, look, Bill, I think for me the difference is clear. One guy plays for a super team, the other guy, you've seen his teammates.
My guy, Chelsea can be considered a super team. Let's be honest.
Is Chelsea's super team?
Let's actually look at the guys have recruited. We can't say that Chelsea has a crop. Like, these are young talents that have been recruited. They're supposed to be a super team.
No, like, one team has Haaland up top. And because I'm talking about the season they won the league and the Champions League. Haaland up top, Rodri in midfield. De Bruyne is still playing a significant amount of games. Diaz, Gvardiol, Edison at the back. Like, Chelsea cannot compare to that team. Like, it's not even close. Like, let's not kid ourselves, man. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, these are two different teams, two different worlds. If you give Pep that Chelsea team, I'm not sure he's doing anything better than Maresca right now. In fact, I'm sure he's fighting for 10th. Because that's really what I think. But anyways,
Well, so you're saying in that super team, if you took off Foden and put in Palmer has the same he would have won PFA
yeah,
for the year.
yeah. Because if you look at the performances that earned Foden that award, it was turn and shoot. It was, hey, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland, you push the defenders back. De Bruyne and Rodri, you do the build-up. You give me the ball. All the defenders are looking at Haaland, focusing on the wingers. There's Foden, edge of the box, no one marking him, just scoring screamers every other week. Like, all right, if that's how you win, fine. I'll give him credit for the goals, but let's not act like, he's some transformative player, because I'll ask you, this season, when they've needed someone to turn up for them, to take the ball and do something with it, either create an opportunity, score a screamer. Where have the screamers gone? Where have the screamers disappeared to? Because I thought that one he could just do it anytime. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a different game that we're playing here. Like, someone else, Palmer has a lot more responsibility on his shoulders. Even you saw, in the goal they scored today late, that came from Cole Palmer starting that move, then shifting the ball out to, I think it was Pedro Neto or whoever was on the right wing making the overlap.
Enzo.
Yeah, Enzo. So that's the difference. Someone has the weight of the team on their shoulders, and the other one just gets to hang out by the box and take shots. I mean, to me,
Different systems. Maybe this system doesn't suit Cole Palmer, and that other system suited Phil Foden. And now with the other people that make the system work at City, Foden can't compete at what he can't do what he does best. Everyone has a role. Foden executed his role perfectly last season. That season he won PFA. Cole Palmer, he can't be the man. He can't be the guy who runs Chelsea. I don't know if Mangoro would agree with that. Can it really fall on Cole Palmer's shoulders? Is he capable?
The last 2 years he's been at the club, you take out his GNA, I think we get relegated.
comfortably, actually. Like,
Because
look
last
at last
season, you remember Poch fighting the whole Cole Palmer FC narrative. You remember that, and some of the things that kid did, it was unreal. So definitely, that guy, you can give him the team. It's his team. Caicedo's had a good season, but it's still the Cole Palmer team at the end of the day.
But can he do it long term is my question.
Well, since we're seeing right now, we can't do it now. Okay, when you say it depends. If you're saying long term, like a whole season, the answer to that is no. but for the next decade, I can just definitely see him blossom into something that is probably up there with the proper supporting cast. Based on what, if you think about Samson's idea, they're talking about the support. If the supporting cast is good, then definitely. Do you know how
That's the same with Foden, though. How can you make this argument for Palmer, but you won't make
But
this?
his
You won't
supporting
accept-
cast is not the same. If you're passing the ball, it's different to pass the ball to Kevin De Bruyne and to pass the ball to Noni Madueke, or to pass the ball to Nicholas Jackson versus Erling Haaland.
No, but
And-
that's what I'm saying, though. You are saying that if Palmer had them as the right supporting cast, then he's fire, then he's good. But you guys are judging Foden for having the same supporting cast and saying, "Exa, it was too easy for him. He just had to turn and shoot."
Haaland, Savinho, Doku, De Bruyne next to him, Bernardo Silva, brother. What are we doing here?
No, but you're saying that if Chelsea has the right supporting cast, would they have similar players to those guys you just named? Cole Palmer carries Chelsea. Cole Palmer's gonna cook, right? That's the argument that Mangoro is making, and I'm saying that you are judging Foden for having that, but you're saying Cole Palmer needs that to flourish because right now he can't flourish because the people around him stink. They stink.
And I'm telling you, Foden has all this. He's had it forever. Okay? He has not known a life that he doesn't have this. Like, this is Foden's entire career. Star players littered across the pitch. And this is the seasons he's putting out.
It's one bad season. It's one bad season, by the way.
It's the one season where he actually has responsibility. It's the one season where he's actually being relied on.
That's what I'm saying, though, that he can't flourish in that role where he has to be this responsible.
So he's a bit part player. He's a squad player.
Now
that is like Palmer is.
I think
that's what you're saying for Palmer.
I think that is a one season wonder. Then
how can you say that's one season when he's been doing it for every season?
Okay, if you've been a star squad player for years, and you get given the starring role, and now you're like, oh, I can't handle it. Like, maybe that's your level. Maybe you are suited to being a squad player.
But that's exactly the argument.
Palmer carried Chelsea. He carried Chelsea the whole of last season. He carried them for the first half of the season. Like that.
Then what happened? Then what happened to him? Why is he still not doing it? What happened?
It's like you're ignoring the whole
No. I'm just saying you guys are making this argument. Why is it that still Cole Palmer is not doing it? Like, why? Obviously, Mangoro just said Cole Palmer can't do it for full season unless he's got the right people around him. That's what he's saying. And I'm saying that we've seen that he can't do it alone, clearly. And Foden can't do it alone either. They're both squad players.
We're asking Foden to do it alone. We're asking him to do something. Contribute, help. That's what all the players on that team, that's all they're asking from me. Help us, bro. Help us. Mamouche is here, like, just give me one through ball, bro. Just one. That's all I ask. He can't do it. That's what we're dealing with here.
I don't know. Anyways, I know how you guys feel about Foden, but I just wanted to point out the discrepancies of what you guys saying Cole Palmer needs versus what you judge Foden for. So anyway, that's just wanted to point that out. Maybe the listeners can decide for themselves.
I'll take a step further. Okay. So this is because I've seen this happen in my own team as well this season. And Arsenal fans are, ridiculous when it comes to this sort of stuff. Odegaard, great player for a lot of seasons. This season, Bukayo Saka goes missing because he's injured. Does Odegaard turn up? Does he raise performance as a captain should? Does he elevate the players around him who come in to replace Saka? He doesn't. He shrinks because he doesn't have the guy he can pass to every game. He's a different player now. That's the difference. Like, if you are that guy, at least you should make someone else look good, even if it's for 5 games. We thought, there were periods last season, people thought Nicholas Jackson was the next Drogba. Not because he's the next Drogba, because Cole Palmer made them look amazing. Because he was getting all these through balls, all these opportunities. He was looking great. That's the difference. Like, all we're asking from Phil Foden is, hey, you have all this star talent around you. You are you're supposed to be the star talent, wonder kid, student of Pep. Brother, can you give us some assists? Can you give us some key passes? Can you feed the ball to Erling Haaland, literally the best striker the Premier League has ever seen, plays on your team? Can you play him a through ball 10 times a game? Can you, not even 10, 2 times a game? Can you do that? No! And that's the problem. That is the literal problem that we have with that guy.
Also, but
Cannot
again,
do the bare minimum.
I think it's a little disingenuous because it's not as if it's just Phil Foden having a bad season. Everybody's having a bad season at Man City. So it's not as if even if he makes the pass, there's no guarantee that Haaland will score that ball. We've seen Haaland this season. Like he was fine in the first 10, but he's also dropped off, right? So it's not just a Phil Foden problem though.
Classic chicken and egg situation. Because again, I've heard this from Arsenal fans, right? I've heard this. Martinelli has, one game will struggle to go past his man, right? One on one. He gets the ball the same way Saka would get the ball. He struggles one on one. Instead of asking, hey, why is Martinelli instead of getting on Odegaard, the passer and being like, hey, why isn't he trying something different with this different player? You go on the other guy, you say, hey, why aren't you performing the same way Saka does? And it's like, hey man, like at some point you have to understand that guy is that guy and this guy is this guy. So we have to judge you for what you're not doing. I think that's fair. If this is something it's in your capabilities to do and you're not doing it, we have to ask why. So Phil Foden, why can't you create opportunities? Why can't you maintain your output level of scoring goals? Like what's changed last year or this year that you can't do it?
Use that same questioning for Cole Palmer.
He did it for the first half.
No, but you're saying no, but then why is he not doing for the second half?
Okay,
There we go.
let's just put stats. Let's put
Oh
stats.
my days.
Simple. Let's put stats. Let's put stats. Our so-called Premier League Player of the Season from last year has 7 goals and 3 assists. The Cole Palmer, according to Mozart, who's having a bad season,
I didn't say he's having a bad season.
has double the number of goals at 14 and 10 assists. So I don't know, man. I think
I said Foden's having a bad season. Come on. And then when
Foden and Jack Grealish, same WhatsApp group.
Listen, that's 14 and 10. That is record breaking for a lot of players. And that's the point. The point is he's doing that with this supporting cast. Imagine if he was doing that with Haaland in front of him. Would you still say he's a bad player? You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're doing here. So it's like, you have to judge these guys based on the talent around them because it matters. You play as part of a team. And as a midfielder, you're going to rely on your attackers a lot more than anything. So I think you can't put Phil Foden in Cole Palmer debates. I just think it's disingenuous, man. I don't see it. I do not see it at all.
I mean, it is what it is. It's fair and fine. Again, listener, you decide in the chat because I feel like I'm bringing up a good point, and these guys don't seem to want to. I guess we can agree to disagree. Because for me, Foden's having a bad season. He's shown what he can do. He's won 4 Premier League titles in a row. He deserves a bit more respect. But you guys don't want to give it to him.
He did.
So,
He won all those, all by his lonesome. I'm sure broke all the sweat to bring all those 4 titles home.
okay, but for me, if you're saying, all right, Foden is surrounded by all these star players, why is he the one who won Premier League Player of the Year? If he just had to get into the end, get to the byline and score screamers, like why does that make him Premier League Player of the Year if he's surrounded by Haaland, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, all these guys who are also cooking that, all these seasons? Why Foden? Why did he win that?
He was the only one who was fit. De Bruyne literally played half of the season last year.
Foden?
Foden played the whole
so
season.
Haaland. I'm sorry, Haaland?
Haaland literally was in and out of the team. Like the December period, like he was in and out of the team. Like there's even a point where Alvarez played a good consecutive number of games.
I'll be honest with you, I would have given that to Rodri, but that's just me. They gave it to Foden. He's on the team that won the league. I can't complain because he scored a number of goals. His team was the best. Fine. I have no problem with that. But I will always bring context to the conversation. That's what I will always do. Because I feel like it's lost. Context is just lost. People think, oh, because you want Pepe player, yeah, this is one of the best players ever. And it's like, just no. I don't think he is. I don't think he's anywhere close.
You know what? I think I'll get more on you guys' side if Man City makes changes in the summertime, next season plays, and Foden is still not up to par. Like if the same thing happened this season happens next season, I can be like, you know what, guys, I can understand a bit of your point. But for me, I'm willing to give him a pass this season because at the end of the day, the whole squad has just not been there. Like it's just not been good for Man City this season, and obviously it's impacted the boy. So anyway, with this, I know we kind of got off tangent there with this Foden and but it was good to throw out there because I could see some very interesting parallels being drawn. Anyways, I think that's a good place to end the podcast. Mangoro, were there any last lingering thoughts about Chelsea before we close off?
No lingering thoughts. Just honestly, Chelsea fans should just take it how they see it the rest of the season. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I don't see us getting top five. That's just my take. That's just the honest truth. As much as I support the club, honestly, it's not gonna happen. So, yeah, they should definitely tune in to the Frost Brothers podcast. I'll bring hot content as we go. So at least there's that. We'll be bringing you content as much as Chelsea is playing terribly. We'll still be bringing you content.
From you, Sunny, any last lingering thoughts about Chelsea?
I think last thing I would say is the young man who got his goal. That was Tyreek George, right?
Yeah.
That was his first Premier League goal, right?
Yep.
Shout out to Evil Saka, because I think it's very crazy how similar they look. Because he literally looks like a Saka clone, like just gone wrong, like with one of those movies where they clone someone and then someone leaves like a strand of hair from someone else. It's just like a slight change, but you can tell like, yo, these guys are very similar. But yeah, shout out to him to take that shot the way he took it. First time, balls bouncing a little bit, bottom corner. You're not even a striker. That was just incredible, honestly. That was a great goal. And for that to be your first Premier League goal, shout out to him. I think that was really good. And future looks very bright for the boy.
And Chelsea owners, he's not profit on the balance sheet. Can we stop that as well? Over here, Mata.
I love it. Well, again, listener, thank you so much for hanging out on the First Brothers podcast. Chelsea fans, I hope we've done this episode justice and you taken everything we've said. Please do like, comment, subscribe. Especially feel free to comment in any places where you feel like we've had some high debates. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please, we know we love to hear from y'all and we definitely will respond. So anyway, thank you for hanging out on the First Brothers podcast and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.